Hello everyone, welcome to Tea Time. My name is JaKaTaK, and there's nothing in here. It's empty. Not gonna lie to you, it's empty. So getting right into it, I'm gonna do something a little bit different today in Tea Time. I'm going to address some training tips for StarCraft, but also for other things in general. I'm gonna post this in the Sandbox chat, so all you sandboxers out there that are watching, hi. Hopefully I've gotten a chance to talk to all of you, face to face, as it would, or voice to voice. But in any case, I'd like to talk about the concept of talk to play ratio, which is very simple, not fancy thing at all, but I think that it's really, really important. So when you're doing anything at all, training in StarCraft or learning an instrument or developing any sort of skill, there is a certain amount of time that you have to spend reading or talking and learning and developing ideas, and there's a certain amount of time that you need to play the game or play the instrument or do the moves of the dance or whatever it might be. And it's very, very easy to get caught in the trap of theory crafting and talking about ideas and not actually playing the game, not actually training, because that's the main thing. The play should be big and the talk should be small, and that gets into even the micro levels. Like, you're in a training session with someone, you're doing deliberate practice, you're practicing 1/1 roach push against 5 barracks opener or something like that. You have a very specific thing in mind, you're training it, you're trying to figure out what the correct responses are to certain scouting patterns and things like that. And first of all, you don't talk while you're playing because you're a good deliberate practicer, and you pause the game when you want to have a discussion. So you pause the game, you have a discussion about something, and it starts to go off topic, it starts to go into tangents, you start talking and talking and talking and talking. And certain players will be more susceptible to this issue than others. So watch it, watch yourself, because you're gonna run into that issue where you'll realize, oh my god, I've been theory crafting for an hour and I've got no training done, and I have a life and a busy schedule, and I only have 2 hours a day to train in StarCraft, which is plenty, by the way, which is plenty if you use it wisely. But if you allow yourself to talk and talk and talk and talk, and the play is smaller part and the talking is a bigger part, then you're not going to see as many improvements. So one way to deal with that is to get yourself in the habit of always looking for measurable, testable things. So if you're talking about, for instance, 1/1 roach push against Terran, going with some sort of expand into quick 5 racks kind of a thing, then you test it, and you say, well, what if I did this? And if your response after what if I did this is having an hour-long discussion about things that might happen, then that's not going to be so good. But as soon as you say, what if I did X, you've reached a point where you can test it, where you can get into the game and resume from replay and say, I'm going to try it this way. I'm going to try it this way. I was having a coaching session with some sandboxers, and there was a Zerg player who was just hitting his head against the wall with this, what was it? With this attack. It was a ZVP, I can't remember the exact attack, but anyway, the attack was coming in, and it was crushing. Actually, the Zerg player was fine. It was crushing every time, and the Protoss player was like, I think I can defend this, Oh god, man, got it backwards. It was the Zerg player. So the Protoss was coming in with it was a San gate. Aha, remember, it was a San gate, and the Protoss was coming in with a San gate. The follow-up push was really, really devastating as well. So, hitting his head against the wall over and over again, playing this game, like, man, I don't know what to do. And one of the coaches and one of the players mentioned, like, you should surround, you should get better positioning, and you surround before he gets set up for the attack, because he can't use his force fields as well. because the engagement was happening just like Zergs are here, Protoss are here, and force fields work really well in that kind of a scenario. And he began theory crafting about it. Be like, well, it doesn't really matter. I just don't have enough stuff to beat him. That's the problem, And that assumption is what was preventing him from moving on. And that assumption is never going to get defeated in theory crafting world. Those assumptions never get challenged really or defeated or proven. The mind doesn't get changed in theory crafting mode. It gets changed in practice. So we said, well, let's resume from replay and try it. And resume from replay has all this frustration and stigma around it because it takes a long time to load. So you're like, oh no, it takes a long time, I just won't do it. Do it. Because it can be absolutely worth the time. Maybe not every time, maybe 1 out of 10 times you're gonna make a really big breakthrough. But this was a moment where there was a huge breakthrough. And he said, okay, do everything the same, go into that area to set up Protoss, go into that area to set up, and Zerg just be on top of your scouting and knowing where the army is. So the army was coming in to set up, to start pushing into that Songate kind of situation. Or it was the follow-up push. It was one of the pushes, and he was coming in. And Zerg came in from 4 different angles at once and completely demolished the army. The army sizes weren't any different at all. The only thing that changed was the Zerg was prepared in flanking position, executed the flank well, and completely destroyed the other player. That is why the play to talk ratio needs to be towards the play side, because that's where it happens. So, one way to do that is just finding testable things and looking for them. You have to be actively looking for them or you're not going to find them. Whenever there's some sort of assumption that you have, any sort of assessment that will say, like, this is why I'm losing, or this is why I'm hot, this is why I drop, whatever it is to you, this is why I'm losing to this on gate, whatever it might be, test it. As soon as you can test it. And if you do that, if you get yourself in the habit of that, you're going to find that there are all kinds of things that you're assuming that you don't even realize that you're assuming, which is the difficult part of assumptions. Most of us don't realize that we're making assumptions when we make them. Otherwise, they probably wouldn't be assumptions for the most part. So, in any case, talk to play ratio, find something testable, measurable immediately, and you'll find vast improvements in the world of improvements in StarCraft and potentially other things too. Just get down and dirty and into it. Do the thing immediately. Yeah, that's it for the day. Have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day. I'll see you later.